When I started this channel, I asked a simple yet intriguing question. How far can you get in Bloons Tower Defense 6? Asking the question was easy, but finding the answer proved to be a lot harder. 5 months later, after creating tons of videos, researching and testing everything related to super late game, and after many weeks of actually playing to reach that round, I've finally got an answer for you. Today, I proudly present the highest round in BTD6. The first thing that needs to be done is to explain the rules. For super late game Bloons, there are a few game modes and variations on them that are extra suitable for this type of challenge. Just like in many other games, most challenges are either on the hardest or on the easiest difficulty, while all the difficulties in between are ignored. This is because in most games, Bloons included, these difficulties offer no major change to the challenge at hand. In BTD6, the difficulties we are the most interested in for super late game is easy mode and chimps mode. Easy mode can be split up into two categories, with and without powers. Powers are items that you can purchase for in-game money that will help you in various ways, as we will soon see. In this video, we're playing on easy mode with all powers allowed, since that is the game mode in which you can get the furthest. The things that are not allowed is the following. No mods or cheats, no glitches that give a nearly unlimited advantage, or glitches that only exist for a short period of time before being patched. Some examples would be the old infinite paragons glitch, infinite towers on stacked pools, the double Energizer effect, and the extreme megalodon thrash rate. Other than the rules just mentioned, everything is allowed, so we can use things like our Insta towers to place down farms as soon as the game starts, and use powers like Thrive that causes us to generate twice as much money, and also cash crates to give us a big head start on our farming for our long journey ahead. By the time we reach round 40, where easy mode ends unless you go into free play, we already have a good farm going. We place down pools with boat farms in them, since each dollar they generate counts as 4 pops towards our boat paragon, and we want to get degree 76 for every single paragon, which is the highest degree you can get unless you play co-op or use Geraldo as your hero. But we will be using Adora instead, as her blood sacrifice ability that gives twice the attack speed to sun temples and sun avatars absolutely dwarfs the couple of extra paragon degrees you get from Geraldo, or even Asili's hex ability. We also place down some aces to start farming pops for our Doomship Paragon, at the same time as the boat Paragon is farming pops through the money generation instead. Also, a super important step that needs to be started right now is the Ultra Boosting. The tier 5 Middle Path Engineer can give 10 permanent stacks of Ultra Boost to a tower for a total of 66.7% extra attack speed. But the ability can only be used 3 times per round and has a fairly long cooldown. So since we eventually want to end up with every single tower having the maximum amount of stacks, we will need to use the ability hundreds of times, so unless we start now, we won't make it in time. I have already planned in advance exactly what towers I want and how many from research done in previous videos. That means I can place them down in this corner now and start ultra boosting them without upgrading them, since if I did, they would steal pops from the towers that I'm trying to make into paragons. Also, if I upgrade them now, some won't be able to be moved later using the Chinook, and we will need to move them around a lot, so we won't upgrade them until they are placed in their final position. At round 135, we get our degree 76 Doomship Paragon and place down ninjas to start farming pops for the Ascended Shadow. Most of the pops will come from the Grand Sabo's ability, but placing a few buffed ninjas up front will speed up the process. At round 166 we get the Nav Arc, and also now that the ninjas have 16.2 million pops total, we can get the Ascended Shadow as well, and then we get working on the Glaive Dominus. One of the first things that we researched before starting this game was which map to do it on. Logs, Resort and Cubism are all very good easy maps. Cubism did not need to be looked at very long before being disregarded due to its shorter track length, despite the very nice straight lines and good track overlapping. However, Logs and Resort were closer, so we took a deep dive comparing the two maps, especially since the highest round ever at the time was considered to be held by a Reddit user posting detailed stats of a game on Resort, reaching round 567 with powers allowed in update 33. There is no video of this game, but it was still widely believed to be legit, and the player believed that Resort was the superior map, but according to our testing, Logs still reigns supreme, hence our choice. Another important thing to know is the history of free play scaling. This is the current scaling of HP and speed of Moab class balloons. But a long time ago it used to be a lot less, so you could make it a lot further than you can today with very little effort. And thus, for challenges like this, we're only interested in games played in fairly recent updates. Here are some of the notable updates that changed how free play works in BTD6. Now that we have gotten the Glaive Dominus and the Apex Plasma Master Paragons, we only have the NG Paragon left, which will gain its pops very quickly using the XXXL trap. Once round 207 is over, we get our final Paragon and we can now move on to what's next. The next step is to build our Sun Temples. If we place a Sun Temple on top of water, it will be able to receive an attack speed buff by the carrier flagship, and we can achieve this by creating the temple on top of a portable lake with its water frozen by a middle path ice monkey. Although, as you can see, the lake is sticking out a bit on each side of the temple, so this means that we are sacrificing space. Sometimes this little difference will cause you to be unable to place towers like overclocks in between the temples. Thus, not every temple will be built on top of a pool, because we need to balance it with what towers we can fit in between. We will first create most of our damage temples with 1110 sacrifices, and then once that is done, create our 2221 VTSG and then two 1011 support temples. If you don't know how to maximize temple damage or are unsure of how temple buffs work, you can watch these videos here that explains everything about temples. While we're in the process of creating our temples, you will see the first trick or glitch that we will use. You can use a Chinook to move a tower right next to a Sun Avatar, and as the tower is being moved, you upgrade into a temple. This will cause the tower to be placed inside the temple, and this way you can save some space. As with most things you're going to see in this video, I have a tutorial on it in my late game guide playlist. Now, to continue placing temples around the map, we need to use Chinooks to move every single tier 1 tower that we ultra boosted before, in this bottom left corner, up and away from this area so they don't get sacrificed when we create the temples. And that takes a few rounds, but once that is done and we got some damage temples all around, we can create the VTSG in the center on the water, and then a support temple in the top left, another damage temple here, and the second support temple right here. After moving the tier 1 towers away, we will create one last damage temple here and also use the Chinook trick again to fit another Sun Avatar right next to it. Now we won't make any more temples. You can fit a few more, but that's not a good idea if you want to get as far as possible. We need the remaining space for other towers. Now it's time to move every tier 1 tower that we ultra boosted in the beginning to their intended location and upgrade them, while we also continue to ultra boost all the temples so that every tower has max stacks. We also fly around the permabrute to buff every tower. While researching, we found the pixel perfect placement for our ice debuffs and cripple Moab debuff. And you want the super brittle right here on top of the nav arc, and a normal embrittlement under the water and also at the start of the track. And the cripple Moab should be right here. Now we just place down a few energizing totems that will increase the attack speed by 25% for towers in its range, and then we get a lot of tech bots that will automatically activate our abilities. We make sure to time them well in order to ensure that the call to arms that gives 50% extra attack speed don't cancel out our homeland defense that gives 100% extra attack speed. We also make sure that the Navark tech bot is set to trigger when a balloon hits this area to make sure the ability does not activate at the very start of a round and hook in a Moab class balloon smaller than a bad. A lot of tier 5 towers are skipped in this run because often an overclock for one of your existing towers will give a lot more DPS than a new tier 5 tower, and for the VTSG we make sure to have 2 overclocks for 100% uptime. At this point, the game is already lagging quite a bit from the extreme amount of projectiles, but it's going to get a lot worse. I will often speed up the gameplay to make it a lot easier to look at, but I will also show you the extreme lag that we will encounter soon. Other than that, we still need to change the tower that is being ultra boosted to give every tower 10 stacks. Our setup is now complete. We can use this little space in the bottom right corner to place a random small tower that we will sacrifice to Adora, while her long arm of light ability is also active to make sure her range is big enough to buff every temple on the map. And now, all we need to do is to prepare for the ultra late game rounds by buying some powers that we will use. And when I say some, I mean a lot. I ended up heading to the store 4 times to buy powers for 50k monkey money each, for a total of 200,000 monkey money spent, which I bought in the store for $200 since I didn't have that much monkey money from just playing. If you buy items from the store, make sure to enter my creator code in the settings to support my work as a Bloons YouTuber. I ended up buying over 1100 monkey boosts that gives all towers twice the attack speed for a few seconds, and over 1900 time stops that causes time to slow down but also gives you a lot of other benefits such as balloons grouping up, making it easier to hit more at the same time. Once again, detailed explanations for most things are available in my tutorial playlists. And now everything is done, and the only thing left to do is to see how far we can make it. Keep in mind that we won't be able to AFK for more than a couple of rounds, because soon we will need to start using Adora's Blood Sacrifice ability, and that has to be used manually. And also later, as we're near round 500, we need to start using the powers manually too. In terms of time spent, our journey has just started. Here is where the real grind begins. Keep an eye on the total time elapsed and the time per round as we montage our way through the final stages of this game. At this point, we have passed the world record by quite a bit, and I've been in this game for almost 4 months. I started it on January 8th and finished it on the 26th of April, so this game took place from update 34.2 to update 36.3. I managed to beat round 600 and then continued for as long as I could. The balloons were not even close to exiting, and most people did not think that round 600 was even going to be possible, so it's looking like the expectations of both myself and others was about to be blown out of the water. But on round 609, disaster struck. Okay, so my game just crashed or something unsuspectedly when I was on round, I think, 609. And I'm just praying to God that I will be able to load back in. I do have a save. Okay, let's try. No. Oh my God, it's fucking over. Oh my fuck, dude. This is not real, dude. I was about to be finished with the round as well. No, that's it. We're done. We're done. The record run is over. Sadly, as I was about to finish round 609, my game crashed, which is pretty common on rounds this high, and often you can't get back into your game. But now, let me give you an idea of what a round that high looks like. On round 608, a DDT can clear the whole map in less than 2 seconds, and a bad in just 25 seconds, due to the speed boost being over 1300% at this round. What you will witness now is how the entirety of round 608 looks like, and it's just stunning. Keep in mind that at this round, every fortified bad has 41.2 million HP. That's more than a tier 5 elite Bloonarius, and that's just to pop the outer layer of the bad. Sadly, since the game crashed, I can't get the exact pop count for every tower in this game, but I do remember a few. The BMA, as usual, ranks first, this time with over 140 billion pops. Even though this tower ranks the highest, it's not the most important one, but it is good for cleaning up the insides once you pop a bad balloon. The Navark was in second with almost 60 billion pops, and then the Grand Sabo and the VTSG with about 50 billion each. I will try to list every tower I had in this game in the description below. So, assuming you allow all powers and you don't crash like I did, how far can you get? What is the final answer? At the point I crashed, the Bloons were only making it about 50% of the way through the track, and I was still not rebuying Homeland, so you can probably make it to somewhere between 700 and 800, as crazy as that sounds. This has been by far the biggest Bloons project I've ever undertaken, so I would very much appreciate if you gave the video a thumbs up and subscribed, because we are not done yet. We still have easy mode, no powers allowed, and chimps mode left, and you don't want to miss that. Chimps mode, you're next.